I want to state something. Mr. Limbaugh is dead. Now I am the most conservative person in America. To Dan, thank you. You're wonderful, Dan, and I appreciate your input on the show. But you, Mr. Steve Oberndorf, is that his name? The guy who looks like he works for CNN?
Elmendorf.
Yeah.
Elmendorf.
And Elmendorf. And Miss Cliff, I want to say this to you respectfully. I keep hearing, oh, we know there's fraud, waste, and abuse. And we all know this and we agree. But where is the Democratic Party on the Capitol steps with their list of $500 billion to $1 trillion of cuts they want to make? I'm ready, Dan. Go to the Defense Department. Get your list. We're ready. I'm ready, Dan. Don't give me Sean and Musk. You got it wrong. You're doing it wrong. We would do it better. Show me, Dan. What are the cuts you want? List it out. Let's get it done. I'm ready.
Are permitted the
And especially Miss Cliff, who, bless her, no disrespect.
Yes,
her
sir.
ideas are in amber at this point. They are so dinosaur.
All right. Eleanor's not here to respond, so we'll let Dan respond. But thank you for that. Dan, good point. Where are your cuts?
I wrote a thing 2 weeks ago saying the same thing, that if I were advising the Democratic Party, I would make Republicans feel the pain equally. I would, I was in DC for 20 years. Every single appropriation staffer could tell you 100 things that Republicans, wouldn't want put in public and cut. Why the party did not do that? I mean, I know the reason. They just didn't want to get into this fight because all spending is good spending to a lot of them. I mean, that's just the reality. They don't see that there's a problem. And the political problem is we are defending the status quo and arguing over process and screaming that everything, that's proposed to be cut shouldn't be. And that's crazy.
Thank you for replying, Dan. To the Republicans, I'm sorry, with all due respect, $1.5 to $2 trillion over 10 years. Let's be serious. That's not much. To have to spend that whole evening trying to get to that, we are $36 trillion in debt. We cannot address it. Ms. Slotkin, in her speech, essentially spitting in the eye and say, ha, 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 you'll never get this done. You'll never fix this country. Because if you try to do anything to fix this situation, which we know these programs are going bankrupt, and we, not Republican, not Democrats, not Republican, not independent, we do not have the courage to do what it takes to make sure these things last.
All right,
it's
but Anthony,
frankly, it's frankly heartbreaking.
Anthony,
we don't have the courage.
It is. And before I let Beverly respond, I will say this: President Trump has promised a balanced budget. He said the other day could happen sooner than next year if he doesn't stop telling falsehoods about Social Security and Medicare. There's no chance to balance the budget. I'm a big believer in balancing the budget primarily with economic growth, because that's the only way to do it. You need robust growth. And I'm not one of these doomsayers who says we can't grow faster than 2.5%. I think GDP could be 4% with the right policies. We should at least aspire to that. But President Trump, like a lot of Democrats, has led the way in saying, I will not touch Social Security and Medicare, when we all know that there are ways to deal with those programs that hold current retirees and beneficiaries harmless and deal with the future. And it's not to steal money from people. It's to save the programs and to balance the budget. So your criticism of Democrats, I think, is great, but the emperor has no clothes sensibility of the Republican Party and the MAGA movement of saying, take your hands off my Social Security, take your hands off my Medicare, but balance the budget. It's a fantasy, and it's not even like some subtle thing. That's where all the money is. So I'd like you to be equally critical of the president as you are of Democrats on if you really want to balance the budget. If the $36 trillion debt bothers you, you got to deal with Social Security and Medicare, rather than President Trump saying absolutely not. Not just we need to do it carefully. It says absolutely not. It's madness.